I just want us to know this. While we're measuring our competence, God is going to measure our character. He's going to measure our character. God isn't looking and saying, like, what's your strong suit? How good are you at this? Because that's how I'm going to decide if I use you or not. God isn't looking at your abilities right now. He's looking at your heart posture. My wife and I, we've been gone for a few weeks, and let me just say this, we missed you. We missed you a lot. I think a lot of the times, for a lot of my life, whenever we would go on vacation, I don't know if anyone else gets like this, but you go on vacation and all of a sudden you think, do I really have to go back to anything that's back home? Should I just change my entire life when I get back home? Anyone go through that? I go through that often. I finally did not go through that quite so bad when I got back, because I honestly, I missed you and I missed our work and everything that we had. But like I said, we've been on vacation, and I was thinking about while I was there, I had really high hopes while I was on vacation. I had high hopes for something. I have been on this journey of trying to lose weight, trying to be healthy, trying to work out, think about what I'm putting into my body and to work through it. And I wanted to set the bar a little high. There's two things I didn't want to take a vacation from. I didn't want to take a vacation from God, so I wanted to keep my devotional schedule going, which is really difficult because your whole schedule changes. You don't have your same routines, but I didn't want to lose my devotional time with God. And I told myself, I'm going to work out this whole vacation. I'm going to keep working out. I looked it up. The cruise ship had a gym attached to it. I'm like, awesome. I'm going to work out on this cruise. And so we ended up going, and we had a day before we got on. So I worked out that day. So on the cruise, the first day, that was the rest day. I gave myself an easy start to get into it. And then I thought, all right, well, on my rest day, I'm going to wake up early and go and scope the gym out. I'm just going to scope it out. I don't have to work out today. It's a rest day. I'm just going to scope it out and see what happens. And so I woke up as early as I thought I could beat anyone else. I don't like people to see me lift anything. I just don't want to be around people. So I thought, I'm going to wake up super early, and I'm going to work out this trip. I got to the gym, and let me tell you, the type of people that work out on a cruise, they don't look like us. They don't look like me. I walked in and was like, oh my gosh, this is like an Abercrombie and Fitch posters. They're all just there doing the moves. And I walked in, saw they had some free bananas, and just like took a banana and, oh yeah, that's what I wanted. I was looking for the bananas this whole time. I'm so glad they had them here. I saw the people there, and I just said, nope, not me. I do not belong in this area. I am not good. I don't want to be embarrassed. See, I don't want to walk through life thinking like I don't want to look like an idiot. I don't want to do something that I'm uncomfortable with. If I don't know I can walk in and accomplish it, I have a hard time starting to do it. And I think I can relate that very well to my walk with God as well. I don't want to have imposter syndrome the entire time I'm walking with God. And so a lot of the time, we think about our life with Christ and we want to walk through. We hold ourselves back because we look at other Christians and we're like, man, they just are so different from me. I think I'm going to disqualify myself. And that type of thinking is holding us back. It's holding us back. Like, if we only want to serve God when we're strong, we're going to miss some great opportunities to watch him work through us. We're going to miss some good opportunities. And honestly, I think that's how a lot of us approach God. We disqualify ourselves before God ever disqualifies us. We disqualify ourselves before we ever start the journey of whatever it is that he's calling us into. And as I was writing the message today, and we're looking at the lineage of Jesus and the fact that God loves to use broken things. He loves to use broken people to glorify him. I thought about a lot of you. I thought about myself, and I thought about the fact that God is calling some of you into some amazing, powerful things. I believe there are small group leaders that think that they could never lead a discussion about the Bible here today. I think there are kids teachers that think they have no right to pour into kids, so they never want to serve. There are musicians that think they don't know enough chords to ever serve in the worship team. There's a million things that I think God is calling us all into that we're disqualifying ourselves right off the bat. It's like me walking into the gym. You walk in, you're like, man, I just don't look like this, so I can't make that step forward. And so as we look through the lineage of Jesus, we're on David today. And we see a very different attitude towards looking different or inadequate to those around you. We see a very different story. Because I just want us to know this. While we're measuring our competence, God is going to measure our character. He's going to measure our character. God isn't looking and saying, like, what's your strong suit? How good are you at this? Because that's how I'm going to decide if I use you or not. God isn't looking at your abilities right now. He's looking at your heart posture. He's looking at your character. See, years before David was a king, there was another king that was over him. And years before he ever got to serve as king, do you know what he was told? He was told that he would be king, and had to walk being overlooked and being misunderstood and being judged and being all these different things. And so I wanted to read a little bit of that story. I want us to learn from David and see what his life was like, but also to see how could we, as broken people, be used by God. And I think David is an amazing example. So we'll be in 1 Samuel. Chapter 16 is where we'll be hanging out a good amount, but we'll be in 1 Samuel for most of today. If you're taking notes, you could just jot down all the references. We'll jump around a little bit. The wonderful part about David is he actually wrote some Psalms that we'll jump into as well. So we get to see, here's the story about him, and also here's how he's processing in real time. We get to see the story and how he's processing as well. So 1 Samuel. Someone else was king before David. And now King Saul, when they described how King Saul looked, they said he was tall, dark, and handsome. He was a head higher than everyone else. When Israel was demanding a king from God, God gave them someone who looked like a king. The problem with this current king, King Saul, is that his competency could not keep up with his character. Or maybe the other way around. His character could not keep up with his competency. See, he looked the part, but he frequently would start to do things in his own strength instead of in God's strength. He would hear what the instructions from God was, and then he would decide later, I don't like the way that feels. I want to be in control, and he would take control. And so God sees that, sees his heart posture, and says, we need a new king. And so God told Samuel the prophet, hey, I'm going to send you to find the next king, someone who's after my own heart. So this is Samuel on that journey. Samuel did what the Lord said. When he arrived at Bethlehem, the elders of the town trembled when they met him. They asked, do you come in peace? It's a scary thing when a prophet who's one of the only people who serves and talks to God shows up in your town. Samuel replied, yes, in peace I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Consecrate yourselves and come to sacrifice with me. Then he consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice. When they arrived, Samuel saw Eliab, one of the sons, and thought, surely the Lord's anointed stands here before the Lord. He sees someone come out, right? God says, hey, you're looking for a king. And he sees a man walk out and says, there he is. He looks just like Saul. He's tall. He's strong. This is him. This must be the king. And God said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Now, again, Saul was exactly the right look. And so Samuel was just doing what he thought was right. He was looking for, hey, who would look like a king for us? And so they work through pulling out all the sons, and Samuel has them walk by, and he's like, I'm just going to wait until God tells me who it is. They walk through all the sons, going through, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. So it says, Jesse had 7 of his sons pass before Samuel. But Samuel said to him, the Lord has not chosen these. So he asked Jesse, are these all the sons you have? And miraculously, he said, well, there's this one kid. We didn't even bother getting him in the lineup because you said, you were going to be thinking about a king. So I didn't even bother to get my son David. They're still the youngest, Jesse answered. He's tending the sheep. He's so overlooked that he was never even asked to join this lineup. And Samuel said, send for him. We will not sit down until he arrives. So he sent for him and had him brought in. He was glowing with health and had a fine appearance and handsome features. Then the Lord said, rise and anoint him. This is the one. So Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers. And from that day on, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David. Amazing. God looks at this one person that was completely overlooked, completely ignored, smaller than the rest, different from the rest. And what did he say? He said, this is the one. This is the one. If you think about how much God orchestrates all of his plans, all of the directions he has planned for us. Do you know, as he mapped out the people that you would share Jesus with, as he mapped out the ministries that you would be involved in, do you know he looked at you and he said, this is the one. This is the one who's going to do it. He looked at every single one of us, knowing our lives, and said, this is the one. So I just want to ask, how would you describe yourself? Or how would you let others define you? What are the reasons that you think God can't use you? And think through, is that really how God wants to define you? Is that really what he's called you to do? See, something that I've been walking in this past year is realizing I want to see the power of God move in my life. And I know some of us, we've been praying that too. I want to see the power of God through me and what he's doing. And I want to see the power of God through you as a part of this church at every location. Want to see the power of God through you. But to experience the power of God, you have to do what only the power of God can do. And so if we continuously walk in our own strengths and, hey, here's what I'm good at, and that's as much as I'm doing for God. Here's what I'm capable of. Well, we're only going to see what our strength can do. We're never going to see what God has for us. If you want to see the power of God in your life, you have to do the things that only the power of God can do. So as we look at David, right, overlooked, he's anointed to be king. We don't know exactly the age he was when he was anointed, but he was in his 30s when he became king, and he was a young boy when he was anointed. He had to walk through a good chunk of his life being told, hey, you're going to be king someday. Go back to your sheep until we call you. Right? He had to walk through that. He had to walk through another king doing everything wrong. But as we look at him, we start to learn there are 4 things that I just see that David did that allowed him to be broken and used at the same time. And so I know I'm broken and I want to be used, so I'm going to do these 4 things that David did. The first thing that he did and that we have to do is let God promote you. Let God promote you. Again, he was anointed years before he was king. He watched another king do everything wrong. He had this other king try and kill him his entire youth. He was after him. He had several chances in the Bible to kill the current king and take his place. He was handed that king. And every step he said, no, it is God who will promote me. It is God that will move me forward. And honestly, you read through it, he's justified in killing this king. This king is terrible to him. He's justified in it, but he doesn't want to promote himself. He wrote this in Psalm 37, verse 34, hope in the Lord and keep his way. He will exalt you to inherit the land. When the wicked are destroyed, you will see it. Some of us, maybe in your jobs, maybe within your family, maybe even here within church, think you have to push your way through to get what you want. Or think, well, just fake it till you make it. I'm going to start acting like this is my job. I'm going to start taking control of the situation. I can't wait for God because I want to see it now. And I just want to encourage you, keep his way. He will exalt you. Let God promote you. I learned this the hard way. Even this past 2 years, if I could share just a vulnerable story, about 2 years ago, I was presented with this idea of being an executive pastor here for the church. And when I got back from the conference, got back from the training, nothing happened. I got back and it was just decided that I wasn't going to be that role. The problem is I wanted that role. I was told I was going to get that role. And you know what I did? I started getting very prideful and very bitter. And I started to say, man, I deserve this. I was told I should have this. I'll just start doing it. I'll just start leading people. People will listen. I'll try and do it. I knew I had influence so I could push through. I knew I could make it happen. And then one day through my devotional, I just felt God remind me of the parable when he said, hey, when you come to a dinner, don't sit at the place of honor because it's going to be really awkward when the host asks you to move. And I realized I was trying to seat myself in a place of honor. I was trying to promote myself. And so instead of fighting for a role, I stepped into a worship leader position. I said, I'm going to go back a step. Apparently my pride has taken the better of me. And I'd say maybe 3 months from there, we went through this interim season and the board had asked me and Pastor Stephen to co-lead the church while we were in our interim season. And I realized how awkward would it have been if I had gotten fired for my bad attitude of wanting to be executive pastor and never let God give me the opportunity to love and to pour into this church in this season. You want to let God promote you. It changes your life. It changes everything when you let God promote you. The second thing that David did was this. We seek after God's heart. The entire reason Saul could no longer be king is he didn't care about God's heart anymore. He cared about what he wanted. And so David was a man who sought after God's heart. When the king was supposed to go into battle, Saul, when he was supposed to go into battle, he was told, hey, don't do anything until the prophet gets there. He'll do an offering, and then God will be with you. You go into battle, and you will win. And Saul, while he was there, said, gosh, this prophet's taken a long time. I can't wait anymore. Give me the tools. I'll do the sacrifice so we can hurry up. And he no longer trusted God's plan. So Samuel said this, you have done a foolish thing. You've not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had, you would have been established your kingdom over Israel for all time. He would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time. But now, your kingdom will not endure. Isn't that an interesting viewpoint of it? Hey, you tried to build your own kingdom. Man, if you had tried to build mine, I would have established you. But yours now is never going to last. So we want to seek after God's heart, not our own. But the Lord has sought out a man after his own heart and appointed him ruler over his people because you have not kept the Lord's command. Every kingdom you build without God will not endure. We want to build his kingdom, not our own. The third thing that David did is what we need to do. Don't wear someone else's calling. Again, he had to stand in the shadow of another king. He had all these customs that were being created for him, and we could have every band come on up. We're gonna have one more point, and then we'll move into a time of worship and reflection. But he saw all these things, and he had to make sure he didn't wear someone else's calling. You know, God is a creative God. He's a very creative God. He knows the plans that he had for you. And so you are far from a cookie cutter creation. So why do you think you'd have a cookie cutter calling that you'd have to follow? There's a unique calling that God has for you. You don't want to step into what someone else is doing. You don't want to see other people and say, man, I want a ministry like that. I just need to copy them, and now I'm going to have their ministry. You want to find your calling that God has for you. You find that by seeking his heart and for not wearing other people's calling. In the story of David, you know, I had a mentor at the church. We all had this mentor that had one phrase that he kept saying every time. He was like, hey, basically, here's how we do it at my church. You don't have to do it. But he would always say, I can't do a good accent. I can imitate him, but I'm not, because I love him, and I'm not going to make fun of him. But he would always say, hey, this may be Saul's armor, and he'd explain what he does. And I'm not going to lie, an embarrassingly long time passed before I figured out what he was talking about. I was like, okay, yeah, Saul's armor, I get it. Like, I couldn't figure it out. Then finally reading, I'm like, oh, I get it. See, David, when he was fighting Goliath, one of the most famous stories in the Bible, he decides to move forward, and the king's like, don't do it. This is not going to work out for you. And he's like, no, I can do it. I defend my sheep all the time. I'm going into battle. He's like, okay, cool. Let me give you all of my armor so you can walk in. Now, think about the descriptions of the two people. Saul, a head over everyone else. David, a young boy wearing this armor, going to fight someone for the first time. It was not going to work. And Saul and David knew that it was not going to work. And so it's a little distracting. Sorry. It's one of those things. It's the one downside of doing music is like music messes with you too much. But he decided that I cannot walk forward in your calling. This is how God has provided for me. This is how God has led me. I'm not walking in your calling. And he took the armor off. And so, hey, what you're seeing other people do, that may be Saul's armor. That may not be something that you are called to walk through. He's got a unique calling for you. And the last thing that we see David do, that we all need to do, and we're going to take some time to do today, is to return to God after each fall. You want to return to God. See, when Saul took everything into his own hands, he decided to double down. Well, here's why I did it. Here's why this had to happen. But every time we see David, who was a broken person, make mistakes, and he made a lot of mistakes. I think we portrayed David like this perfect person, but he made a whole lot of mistakes. But you know what made him so usable by God is that he returned to God after each fall. He missed the mark, he'd sin, but he'd return. He'd return to God. And so there's a story in the Bible of David seeing a beautiful woman bathing and decides he would sleep with her, and to hide the entire affair gets his husband killed. That's a pretty big mistake. That's a pretty big flaw that would happen. But we have a psalm that David wrote after he realized the sin that he had committed. It says, "Have mercy on me, O God." And let this psalm just speak over you as you think about why God can't use you. According to your unfailing love, according to your great compassion, blot out my transgressions. Wash away all my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. For I know my transgressions, and my sin is always before me. I'll read from here because my translation is different. For I recognize my rebellion. It haunts me day and night. Against you and you alone I have sinned. I have done what is evil in your sight. You will be proved right in what you say, and your judgment against me is just. For I was born a sinner, yes, from the moment my mother conceived me. But you desire honesty from the womb, teaching me wisdom even there. Listen how he prays this. Purify me from my sins, and I will be clean. Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow. Oh, give me back my joy again. You have broken me, now let me rejoice. Don't keep looking at my sins. Remove the stain of my guilt. Create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a loyal spirit within me. Do not banish me from your presence, and don't take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and make me willing to obey you. We'll stay right there. You know, Jesus gave us an even better way to return to God. Everything David is writing about was a prayer and a hope that he didn't see the same as we get to see. God sent his son so that when we return to him, exactly what David prayed right now is what God sees. We hold up this shield of salvation. It's almost like a lens of salvation that as God looks through that lens of Jesus, you know, he doesn't see how broken you are anymore. He doesn't see how often you turn away from him. He sees the amazing creation that he created. And so you get the opportunity to return to him. You get the opportunity to return to him a little differently, to hold that lens of salvation, that armor of salvation, to seek him. We know we're broken, but we want to be used. We want to see God's power. And so let's seek after him in those ways. Would you stand to your feet? We're going to worship in just a moment, but I wanted to encourage you at every location. And this is not really what I wrote down to end it, but it's what I wanted us all to just share. I don't think you understand how much more God wants to use you, how much more he wants to walk through life with you. I don't think you understand that sitting here in church is not the end of your walk with Jesus. It's not the last thing. Hey, you did it. You made it. Here you are at church. He wants you to move so much more, to make such a bigger impact, even just within your family or within your workplace, whatever it may be. But he wants so much more. I would love, could you at every location receive that, know that, believe that? There is something more. He wants to take all those broken pieces and he wants to put you back. He wants to put you back in the perfect creation that he made. And so as we sing and as we reflect, I think we need to receive that. And we need to do these 3 steps. We need to let God promote us. We need to seek his heart. We need to wear our own calling and return after each fall.